Hello, and welcome to Korby's Book Club, where I tell you about books that I've read that I think you might enjoy.
She was a book nerd, she had blonde hair.
Well, I've been home for 2 weeks straight, and you'd think I'd gotten a lot of reading done by now, but it's amazing how much time you can spend on the East Nashville Facebook page reading the comments. Turns out my neighbors are equal parts creative and irate. My last book report was on a book I only liked and did not love. No such reserve this time. We're in a moment of darkness, and we need something that really shines. I give you Saturday by Ian McEwan. One of the great writers of our time. Books seem to fall out of McEwan's brain like tornadoes from a night sky. Too soon? He has 15 or so novels, and I've read 3, and of those, Saturday is by far my favorite. In fact, it's one of my favorite books of all time. Top 20. I should make a list. Saturday takes place in one day, a specific day, Saturday, February 15th, 2003, and it follows the adventures of Dr. Henry Perrone, a neurosurgeon living in the Fitzrovia district of London. Henry wakes up in the middle of the night, prompted by he knows not what, and as he stands at the window in his robe, he's startled to see an airplane on fire streaking low over the London skyline. The events that follow oscillate between Henry's personal life and the international political climate at that moment. For instance, on Henry's drive home from a squash match, the anti-war protest that brought throngs of dissenters into the streets on that particular day in February leads to Henry's involvement in a minor car accident. The occupants of the other car turn out to be sketchy, and Henry is mugged, though not before discerning in his assailant the indications of the early stages of Hodgkin's disease. The conflict seemingly ends, and Henry goes on with his day, visiting his mother at her care facility and looking forward to the arrival of his daughter later that evening from her home in France. An unfortunate surprise awaits both characters and reader at the conclusion of the novel, and the book ends with a dramatic flourish. Why did I like this book so much? 2 things. 3 things. First, obviously, McEwan is intimate with the nooks and crannies of the English language. How to bend sentences around difficult ideas so that both clarity and pleasure obtain. Whether he's describing the removal of a subdural hematoma or explaining Henry's mixed feelings for his son's career as a rising blues guitarist in the London scene, McEwan's writing is nuanced, trenchant, and sympathetic without being sentimental. Also, I noticed that I have a preference for stories based in reality. My feeling is that the actual world is interesting enough as to warrant a lifetime's study, and that the fanciful conjectures of magic realism in, say, 100 Years of Solitude or Master and Margarita shrink from the challenge, or at best, sashay around it. That said, I really loved 100 Years of Solitude. Master and Margarita, I could take or leave. Those are 2 things, and the third is this. I'm more interested in well-drawn characters than in plot twists. I've been perfectly happy reading long novels where almost nothing happens, as long as the characters are interesting. I think of Saul Bellow as emblematic of that kind of writing. McEwan, like Bellow, writes complicated people into existence, but he adds another element, which is that things actually happen. Saturday is about what an intelligent, scientific-minded person does to make meaning of his life as a participant in the modern world. It's full of descriptions of the grounding minutiae of family life, a specific family, and likewise sets it like a stone in an equally specific contemporary moment. The word of the week is tortuous, which means full of twists and turns, not straightforward. Let's use it in a sentence. The optimism with which we anticipated the new year proved hasty. Life always unfolds in kinks, but the first 6 weeks of 2020 were particularly tortuous. That's it for Korby's Book Club. Remember, music keeps you young, but reading keeps you sharp. See you next time.
She was a book nerd. She had blonde hair with a paperback in her back pocket.